Some advice I would give to my fellow dietitians or healthcare providers who are trying to integrate a more comprehensive weight management strategy that includes both nutrition counseling as well as medication management is that this is really something that we've needed for a really long time. And we've had access to things like the GLP-1 medications for people with diabetes, but now we're starting to get access to them for people who are struggling with obesity and who have really tried their whole lives to lose weight and have had a lot of frustrating experiences, especially if they've gone on rapid weight loss programs where they maybe have lost some muscle mass and have seen some changes to their metabolism. I think these medications are incredibly helpful. And so having help with appetite support along with the nutrition piece is so critical. And I'm so excited that we, as a healthcare team, now have the option to help people as an integrated care team. I will say if you happen to be a pharmacist or a physical therapist or anybody who's working with people who may be on these medications, it's so great to work together. But learning about the person's eating pattern and dieting history, and especially their relationship with food, I think is incredibly important. I actually had a client recently say that his entire relationship with food has changed since starting these medications, that he used to have a lot of food noise in his head, is the way he described it. Now that's almost completely gone. He said, I feel like I'm breaking up with food. I don't have a relationship with food anymore. The thing I would want to share with my colleagues is that it's interesting that people are having a breakup with food or maybe a new relationship, but they're going to need to form a new relationship with food. And I think that's where the healthcare team, especially dietitians, really need to be aware of how we can help reshape and reinvigorate someone's relationship with food into a relationship where food maybe isn't so scary. Because I think so much of the time we have these two mindsets of either food is really awesome, but it's also really scary, and I don't know how to approach it because all the foods that's awesome are the ones I'm not supposed to eat. Learning how to reframe this relationship with food, I think, is going to be the future of our job as a healthcare team, especially dietitians who are working closely with the nutrition side of this. So, looking ahead, I think it is really exciting to see some of the technologies that I've used in actually the diabetes world coming into play into the general public. So people are starting to be interested in continuous glucose monitors. This is probably one of the best ways to see what processed foods do to our blood sugars and potentially our appetite, although they're not measuring that yet. But right now we can see if you eat something like orange juice, it takes a lot of oranges to make a glass of orange juice. And the reason is that you're squeezing out all the juice, and what you're leaving behind and not eating is all the nutrition. So, all the vitamins, the minerals, and the fiber that you could find in an orange. This is an issue with fruit juices, that fruit juice is all highly processed and it's all sugar and water, but it doesn't have any of the fiber or vitamins and minerals. But when you wear a continuous glucose monitor, you might see someone's blood sugar spike really high and then it come down really fast, especially if they don't have diabetes. Hopefully, their blood sugar comes down pretty quickly, which means that their body has processed this food, but it didn't really get any fullness, satiety, or any of the nutrition out of it that we want. As far as technology goes, there's been a lot of advances in technology, such as continuous glucose monitor. But I also love the idea that we have apps to track our food. And I think things like MyFitnessPal and Lose It are awesome apps. People tend to sometimes get frustrated after a week or two of keeping track of their food intake, but often it can be very eye-opening at how sometimes little food someone might have and how many calories it is. It was even that way for me the first time I ever tracked food in Lucid many, many years ago. I remember going to a place where we got wings and we had an appetizer and wings. It wasn't a huge amount of food. And I remember when I logged it, it was 1,000 calories. And I thought, gosh, I'm a dietitian. And I didn't realize I was eating 1,000 calories worth of food because it doesn't look like it should be 1,000 calories, knowing what I know about food and nutrition. So I think having access to technologies like food trackers and continuous glucose monitors will only help us grow our awareness and how different foods impact our bodies. The one message I really want people to remember about food and its role in our health and our lives is that food is both fuel and it is fun. And it's really hard to separate those two things. We're never going to be able to say, I'm only going to eat food that is fuel. And that may not be true. There may be people who do that. But ultimately, I think a sustainable way to approach nutrition is that most of the time, try to find food that gives you fuel and make sure that you include foods that are fun so that you are not feeling deprived, especially for anyone on a weight loss journey. Having something that you can actually do and do long term, where you're eating foods that keep you feeling good and feeling full. I think what is always surprising to me, but it's the reason I do what I do, is that when people do eat food, whole food that has the nutrition, so things like protein, fiber, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, things like olive oil, when they eat real food that has all these nutrition, they are surprised at how good they feel. It's more about adding than it is about taking away. It's about adding nutrients into your eating plan that make you feel good, and then sprinkling on top all those fun things that we like to do that bring us joy sometimes in our lives. Some Oreo cookies as dessert for one person, and it might be ice cream for another person. And it might be some lower sugar version of this that you've made your own because you've been playing with recipes in your kitchen. There's really no wrong way to have fun with food, but it's finding a way that makes it sustainable to meet your goals, but also to meet happiness inside of you that you're looking for so you don't feel deprived.